Hello and welcome to the big picture. The situation in Kashmir continues to cause serious concern with unrest for the 66th day in succession following the killing of Hizbul militant Burhan Wani on July 8th. While curfew in parts of Kashmir continues, infiltration of militants from across the border has also been reported. 7 militants were gunned down by security forces in the last 48 hours and also a security force personnel was killed. Meanwhile, more army has been deployed in some parts of the valley where the forces had stayed away for the last at least 2 years. This additional deployment is apparently to control infiltration and seal the borders, even as the death toll of civilians in the valley rose to 78 with several hundreds injured. The unrest has led to very low-key Eid celebrations or no celebrations at all in several parts of the valley. Meanwhile, Home Minister Rajnath Singh has asked security forces and administration to ensure that normalcy is restored in a week's time and also the schools and colleges to reopen. Today we will discuss if the valley is ripe for return to normalcy and what measures are necessary for the same and what is the situation on the ground. To discuss this, I have with me B.P.Singh, former Home Secretary, Government of India and also a former Governor, Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson, BJP, D.C.Pathak, former Director, Intelligence Bureau, Kapil, Air Vice Marshal retired, Prem Shankar, Senior Journalist, and on the phone line from Srinagar is Altaf Hussain, Senior Journalist. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Hussain, can you hear me? Mr. Hussain, you there? I think we'll get him after that. Mr. Prem Shankar, Mr. Jha, you have visited the valley recently and you have seen the situation. I am told that you have also spoken to people, you have written about it also. You think that the Home Minister's hope that within a week normalcy could be restored in the valley is a viable thing?
Well, if it's a hope, yes, provided a few things are done even now, I think it is normalcy, definitely not, but a sort of a lowering of temperatures, a lowering of violence is possible. But to do that, you must start by giving by taking the first step. It's the government that must take the first step, which is to lift curfew, minimize it, then lift it, bring down the tempo of police operations. At this moment is highly proactive. You know, police goes in and smashes any protest or any demonstration anywhere, and a kind of to go back to a defensive position where you say, well, look, it's your valley, it's your city. Do what you like, but remember there are key things. You do not destroy buildings. You do not attack government places. You don't go to the cantonments. We will safeguard those. You do what you like outside that. I think that this kind of, a one step back from government is necessary. There are other things, of course, they could do. I will not take your time. But a one step back by government is necessary, and Eid is the best time to do it. You know, if they could make a statement saying, please, ceasefire in Eid, we're going to do nothing in Eid, just go and enjoy be with your families. I think it would begin the way towards normalization. But normalization is not sufficient. I mean, remember there are very strong forces being encouraged from outside, but also very much within the youth, the extreme youth in Kashmir, who are against this and who will fight it. The job is not normalization. The job is to make Kashmiris see that it is these people who are responsible for disrupting their lives, and then getting pressure from them onto the disruptive elements to stop doing so. And to do that, you must show that you've done your bit. Now it's up to them.
Okay.
And that's what I'm hoping we will see in the next few days.
Okay.
It's the only way to go ahead.
Okay, sir, I'll come back to you. Sambit, has the government been able to identify who these people are? Because we are being told that there are these elements who are behind what is happening. But is there a clarity now about who are these elements?
No, I'm sure there must have been a great deal of clarity till today when we are discussing this issue. I say this not because of the fact that I'm privy to any of the meetings of the Home Minister or the all-party meeting. I say this because this issue has been discussed umpteen number of times by the various media houses, and we are reading about it almost every day in the newspapers. We have seen as to how the government and the investigative agencies, they have isolated the bank accounts of the people who are instigating such kind of violence, and I'm sure that the government's security agencies as well as investigative agencies are doing their job to isolate the ones who are the instigators. I was just listening to Mr. Jha, whom I respect a lot. I read his columns thoroughly. He said that well, the government has to take one step backwards, and thereafter the government has to pronounce to the people of Kashmir that these are the places you should not attack, and these are the things you should not do, like you should not throw stones, you should not attack the police station and the government installations. I agree with him, but then yet I would say that solution is not so simplistic as we are trying to project it, in the sense that it's not that the government is not saying that don't attack the police station, don't attack the government installations. It's not that the Chief Minister has not made a claim that please don't throw stones, and she has not even, she has appealed to even the ones who are instigating them. To Man Ki Baat, the Prime Minister also has appealed to the ones who are instigating these people to throw stones. So it is not all that simplistic, but I believe after the all-party meeting and the steps that have been taken, normalcy would return gradually.
Okay. Mr. Singh,
Yes.
you think the all-party meeting has been able to provide some kind of a balm to the situation?
This was a positive step, but when the Home Minister of India said that the administration should constructively work towards normalcy, there are well laid out procedures. And I must tell you that Kashmir has a tradition of very strong district administration. So the Deputy Commissioner is supposed to call the leaders of the district, talk to them, and also find out who are the elements which are behind disturbance.
By now they should know.
And they know. So they have to take action against them. Then Deputy Commissioner's own office and the office of the other magistrates, including the judicial magistrates, must start functioning. It is only when these institutions of governance give the look of normalcy that the society follows, and educational institutions and also the commercial establishment. These things will not take the lead. The administration has to take the lead. So things have to change on the ground, and political leaders, and I would expect the Honorable Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir to send at least a minister or two to the most disturbed districts of Kashmir Valley in particular, to see that they don't overlord over the district magistrates. They should go to their people and try to talk to them to assist the peace process.
You're saying that a political healing touch is also necessary apart from the administration function?
Both have to go simultaneously.
Have to go simultaneously. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Pathak. Mr. Pathak, what are the measures which you think, what Mr. Prem Shankar Jha talks about, that maybe a step backwards also can help. Do you see that is the way out?
You see, let's try to visualize a big picture. That's the caption of your program. I think the Home Minister's directions, to my mind, connect with a certain kind of course correction that the center has made on the Kashmir policy.
You think in the last 48 hours that...
No, I'm talking of the two visits. He visited on his own for 2 days. Then he led the all-party delegation, which followed by a lot of introspection and examination. So, I personally think this resetting of our responses has come not a day too soon. And when you do this, you always do it on the basis of a sound assessment. And if I were to guess, I can identify a few elements of that assessment which must have led to this.
Sir, I'll come back to you. Sorry, we have Altaf Hussain, who is a senior journalist from Srinagar, on the phone line. His phone line is a little difficult to get. That's why let me get him first. Mr. Hussain, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Mr. Hussain, what is the situation on the ground? The all party delegation came there. It could not meet certain leaders. Hurriyat leaders were not very welcoming of this all party delegation. You think that and the Home Minister yesterday and day before has been having series of meetings here in Delhi, and he says that within a week's time the normalcy needs to be restored. What is the situation on the ground? Do you see that happening in the deadline or a frame of in the framework which the Home Minister has given?
Well, it would be very interesting to see how it happens, if at all it happens. The thing is that they have withdrawn this broadband service wherever it was available in the valley, and the private mobile service has also been withdrawn. And this has instilled fears in ordinary people about tomorrow, the day of Eid, what is going to happen, because the authorities cannot impose curfew in the valley tomorrow because of the Eid festival. And at the same time, the separatist leaders have given a call for a march towards the UN Observer's Office. So everybody is wondering what's going to happen. It could be peaceful. It could be there might be violence. There might be killings. Anything can happen tomorrow. People are very apprehensive. And as for the ground situation, this is the 66th day shutdown in the valley, which is unprecedented in the history of Kashmir. And so nobody, as you asked about the all-party delegation, and as far as I understand, it was a non-serious attempt on the part of the Indian government, because what I have been able to gather so far is that the government itself is not clear, or the ruling party is not clear in its own mind what it wants to do and how it wants to do it. Because when this all-party delegation came up here, it came after a proper, lengthy discussion in the parliament, and there were meetings between the opposition leaders, there were national opposition and the opposition J&K with the Prime Minister, with the Home Minister, and the delegation was headed by none other than the Home Minister himself. But everybody was expecting and insisting that they should talk to the separatist leaders, all stakeholders, including the leaders of the Hurriyat Conference. But when they came, they did not send out an invitation to the separatist leaders, any separatist leader. There was an invite which went out from Mahbub Mufti, but she made it clear in her letter itself that she was writing to the Hurriyat leaders in her capacity as leader of the People's Democratic Party, not in her capacity as the chief minister. So there was no invitation to the separatist leaders from this all-party delegation for a dialogue. And now they are simply talking about one of the separatist leaders having refused to meet with them. And when those four leaders of the opposition went to see Syed Ali-Shah Gilani, the Home Minister made it clear, abundantly clear. He insisted at a press conference that they had gone there to meet him in their individual capacity. So where was the seriousness about this initiative? And now he is talking. He has given these instructions to the security forces. He is not asking the political class or the government in J&K to make sure that this hartal is withdrawn, normalcy is restored, whether partially or fully. He has given these instructions to the security forces that the shops should open, schools should open, and it doesn't need extraordinary intelligence to understand. Even if the teaching class, teachers and professors are compelled to come to the schools, how will the parents send their children to school? All this, it is very baffling whether Rajnath Singh is addressing people in the valley or he is addressing the public opinion outside the state of Jammu and Kashmir. This is very baffling.
Okay.
We don't see it happening, and people are making all sorts of guesses what is going to happen, what the government is up to.
Okay.
And he has talked of crackdown on instigators of violence. What all has the government been doing all these days? More than 80 people have died. More than nearly 12,000 have been injured. And a couple of hundred have been blinded. So what would be a crackdown now? This is unintelligible to me.
Mr.
I don't
Hussain,
see anything happening.
Mr.
But
Hussain,
I'm watching. People are watching.
Mr. Hussain, okay, I'll come back to you. Please stay on, Mr. Pathak. This is interesting. You know, what with the voice which we are hearing from the valley itself now, you know, talking of crackdown, restoring normalcy, all that will depend on what is the situation on the ground. The ground situation doesn't seem to have changed much.
See the big picture again, I'll say. The point is that it is very clear that Pakistan is not going to give up using terrorism to compel you to come to talks. Our Prime Minister took the initiative of this outreach to Nawaz Sharif, and after Pathankot, it became very clear that Nawaz Sharif was just a fig leaf for the army. I mean, to be very frank. Now, if you say that for 20 years there have been democratic governance in Kashmir, and I saw the first election as DIB 1996, it was very difficult, but I mean, are you not entitled to believe that this sentiment of separatism whipped up by a bunch of people, they are getting marginalized, and this was a last ditch attempt for them.
So you're saying no,
this is stone pelting, which
you're
it has
saying-
been established,
No, no,
it
you-
was
before this-
instigated.
no,
It was instigated. If our boys
No, my
got
question is,
caught,
one second,
we'll
my
reach
question-
out to them.
My
I
question
mean,
is, you said that
but
there
our
is a resetting. You said that there is a resetting in the way the Indian government is approaching this issue. What do you mean by that?
I mean, you can always improve on your approach, and whenever you do a course correction, it is for the improvement.
So
I mean,
there is,
it's
you
a-
think
it's
that there is a course correction happening now?
No, I'm connecting the center's responses to the big picture which everybody should know is existing in Kashmir. Now, this separatists, I mean, it is very clear. I think it is high time government said that they are not stakeholders for India. They may be stakeholders.
You say
of
that they are
Pakistan.
not stakeholders. Air Marshal.
I'd like to.
Because you have also visited the valley recently. You've
I
seen
did
what has
too.
happened.
I visited the valley twice in recent weeks. I think I, by and large, agree with Mr. Altaf Hussain, not because he represents the voice of the valley, but it's the truth on the ground. I mean, the picture is far gloomier than it appears on the surface. It is not improved as the days went by. If anything, on the eve of the holy festival of Eid, we don't know, I share the same fears that Altaf Saab shares, that, okay, the curfew will be lifted, maybe momentarily to allow people to celebrate. But are these red-hot, anger-filled youth going to slide back from what they have? You can take a step back as far as the security forces. In fact, security forces in many ways, the state is seen as having been on the retreat very, very deliberately, because state doesn't want to come forward and have more killings. But the fundamental issue, Girish, is Prime Minister has shown after 45 days, when he mentioned nothing about Kashmir, including at the Independence Day, after that he's reached out with very significant statements on 22nd August at the all-party meeting. Thereafter, he's constantly saying he's committed to the political process. But what is required at the present moment for stabilization is a certain political balm to the youth. The youth are the ones who are leading this. Talk about separatists. Separatists actually are irrelevant, but now they have been rendered far more relevant because of this agitation. As far as Pakistan is concerned, I'm sorry, I don't agree with this delusion that everything that's happening on the ground in Kashmir is because of Pakistan. It is an indigenous uprising, an outburst because of political grievances, political space have been denied to youth. 3 generations have seen this conflict, different varieties. I mean, the person who is 20 today in 2010, let's not forget, there was stone pelting in 2010, there was stone pelting in 2008. It was not that there was a stable period. We need to address Jammu and Kashmir issue once for all in a political outreach which is sensitive, which is caring, which is people-oriented, not necessarily national security. I'm a national security man for 40 years, but look at where we are today. The situation has gone out of control. Rajnath Singh is making a statement there needs to be, He's not saying, I'll bring the situation under control, because he's not sure. We need to support the coalition government. We need to ensure that channels are open, political channels. You can have creative, innovative channels.
So that is
we have seen
one of the
crises.
political channels was to send an all-party delegation.
No, that is the
But that
open
Altaf
channel.
Hussain says that
No,
it has not
Girish,
had its impact.
Girish, we have had crises in the past. The Moy Mukaddas agitation
Since I
in
have to leave, you can
64.
ask me the last question.
So many agitations have been held, but you knew who to talk to, who to engage. You have to. This is where political skills are concerned.
Okay,
Unfortunately, there has been failure on the part of the central government in addressing the root problems of Kashmir. So we will keep confronting this. We will keep securitizing it, and not being able.
Let me get. Yes, Sambit. Sambit, you want to respond to
Girish?
that?
Yes, Girish, since I have to leave, I have been very patiently listening to all the experts on the
Girish,
issue
may I
of
also
Kashmir.
respond?
I'll come to you,
I
sir.
just want to begin by saying that we always address Kashmir keeping in view the valley, and we forget that Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir comprises of other components as well, including Ladakh and Jammu. So we have to visualize the whole issue in toto. Secondly, when we say that there is a problem and the central government is not in fact handling the problem properly, we have to be reminded of the fact that Jammu and Kashmir is a problem since the time of independence. So it is not one central government, but naturally it is a process which is continuing. And thirdly, when you say that there is a course correction that is required, I just wanted to remind that the Prime Minister spent his first Diwali in Kashmir, and we were talking about the balm. Was it not a balm when he was spending his first Diwali in office in Kashmir? When in fact he took a personal note of the flood care that was being taken in Kashmir? Was that not a balm? And I remember recently, because I was listening to people saying that the Prime Minister did not speak for 45 days and thereafter he spoke about the problem of Kashmir. It is wrong. The Prime Minister, right from the very beginning, when he was addressing rallies in Kashmir and thereafter in the Parliament also, had maintained that Kashmiriyat, Jamhuriyat and Insaniyat, what Mr. Bajpayee had reflected, are the same issues that we are going to carry forward. And we have seen as to how the Prime Minister had said in one of his rallies in Uttar Pradesh that the hands which are carrying the hands which are carrying stones, in fact, should be carrying laptop. But to this, there was an objection by many mainstream parties also. I remember Mr. Omar Abdullah tweeting and saying that this is not an issue of development. We do not need development. We need a political solution. I am so sorry to state, but I just want to know. Everyone talks of a political solution. Everyone talks of taking a step back. But what is that? Please articulate what is the political solution.
Okay, we will get.
If you think Azadi is a political solution,
Girish.
I don't agree with it. If you think that going back to 1953 like situation is a political situation, I don't think that is possible.
gosh.
So you have to spell out what the political situation is.
let me
We
get-
are all for Vishwas and Vikas. We
Okay.
want to win the minds of people of Kashmir, and we want to win them to development as well.
Okay, Mr. Jha, would you respond to that, Mr. Jha?
Yes, I would like to respond to this last point that Sambit has made. Let me tell you something very bluntly. It will shock you, but I want you to think it through. You want a solution in Kashmir? Here it is. Separate Jammu, give it full statehood. Separate Ladakh, make it a full union territory. Apply full scope Article 370 to Kashmir Valley alone, and ask the Kashmiris, now tell me, how many of these full scope autonomies do you want to keep, and how many do you want to sort of have the same arrangement with India as you had before? And you will find that the problem will be over, and they will come back on their own, after their own work, to exactly the kind of situation that we have today, minus the violence, minus the distrust. Trust me, this is the only way to go. I don't say you can do it in one step, but if this is the only solution there is for Kashmir. You know, and I want to say that I completely agree with Kapil and with Altaf, because the truth is, you cannot say, I want normalcy in a week. It is not in your hands. It's in the hands of the youth. If the people you control are your security forces. If they try to give you normalcy in a week, you will actually be gifting Kashmir Valley to Pakistan.
Okay.
Because the only way they can do it is through the gun, and that's exactly what Pakistan wants.
Yes, Mr. Singh.
I think the immediate task is how to hold peaceful Eid tomorrow. I am coming to that.
No, the Home
The
Minister,
if-
what Mr. Jha says that, or Mr. Kapil Kak is saying, that if you ask the security forces to bring normalcy in a week, will they be able to bring it?
No, I'm not, that should not be taken literally. What is required is that there is a society there which has turned violent, but yet the society is there. And if you put politics, you are establishing that by pelting stones, you are considering that that will be a democratic method of securing solutions. We have to see how to do it. So, immediate job is for the administration to ensure that Eid passes off peacefully,
Okay.
and then call them, have the political dialogue. You can't have violence and then political dialogue.
Yes,
I pray that Mr. B.P.Singh is right, that Eid passes off peacefully. That function, unfortunately, is not with the security forces, but with the stone pelters. I mean, they have to decide.
Yes, society.
That is where the problem arises. But I think the key point here is, and I'm very glad that Sambit raised this point, Insaniyat, Jamhuriyat or Kashmiriyat, but please let's go back to Vajpayee. You can't have central government go back to Vajpayee only for these 3 words. After all, what did Mr. Vajpayee do? He did that sensitive, caring, political outreach to Kashmiris.
including the Hurriyat leaders.
Exactly. Why is it that Kashmir was peaceful from 2002 to 2007? The terror indices that Mr. Pathak was talking about went from 13 killed a day to about less than 2 a day. It's today 150 in a year. So Kashmir is peaceful, but for the stone pelters.
Okay.
But just hold on. There's
Very
a point
quickly,
I'm
sir.
trying to make. We have enough space in what Vajpayee's formulation was. That you reach out, you devolve power to both sides of the line of control. You get Pakistani monkey off your back, because what is happening then? Indo-Pak have a certain arrangement of LOC being a irrelevant line on a map, and yet people, culture, tourism, forestry, ecological, not a joint sovereignty, but joint mechanisms for ensuring that respective sides are able to sustain it.
Okay.
This meets the requirement of India-Pakistan peace and cooperation in the
Okay,
years
sir.
ahead.
Very
and
quickly.
meets the
We are
requirement
running out of time.
No, also all 3 regions. Girish, Sambit's point about Ladakh and Jammu, both these provinces of state actually went along with this formulation. So they didn't have a different
Okay,
formulation.
Mr. Pathak, very quickly.
You see,
Last word, sir. Very quickly.
This emphasis on indigenous character of whatever is happening.
You don't agree with that?
No, it doesn't hold the ground. I know of the years when Jamaat-e-Islami was indigenous acknowledged as a kind of a local people. They had a big influence on the
So you think that
administration.
the
But what
entire
happened?
problem is from across the border?
I was the director.
No, sir,
IB.
I'm asking
I'm
you the
telling you,
question.
I was the director IB when we faced that music of the victory of anti-Soviet armed campaign in Afghanistan.
We don't have time for that. You will say that,
They
sir,
replicated
you are
the
saying,
Afghan jihad in Kashmir.
no, you are saying
and
that,
scene was never the same.
no, Mr. You are saying that the present problem is from across the border and it's not indigenous.
A handful of agents and what is called the kind of a spokesman of whichever
So
side.
you think
apologists.
that, Mr. Hussain, very quickly, one sentence, sir, to you.
Yes, I couldn't hear them out properly because the line is very bad. But I think the Indian intelligence has, and like most in the political class, are still indulging in self-deception, blaming everything on Pakistan. These hundreds of thousands of people who have been coming out in anti-India rallies or in support of anything, they are not coming from Pakistan. They are people of the
Okay,
valley,
sir.
people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
And
Mr. Hussain,
Mr.
Hussain, we are completely run out of time.
Singh.
Sir, your point is well taken, completely run out of time. We'll certainly have many more discussions on this. Thanks to all my guests. This is something which we'll have to continue to discuss. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.